Should I do
honors.
the introduction as per
Please
usual?
do.
All right. Welcome everybody onto the World Wide Web here. This is episode 56 of the West Coast Jazz Hour. And today we're on location in the lovely home of the wonderful gentleman that we're interviewing today. He is a piano legend and has played with legendary jazz musicians such as John Coltrane and Jackie McLean, just to name two of the legends that he has played with. I just asked him how many recordings he made under his own name with his own trio, and he's guesstimating it about 11 or 12 recordings under his own name with trio. So today, Josh Nelson and I, with the West Coast Jazz Hour, are welcoming Jon Mayer to our show today. Welcome, John.
Thank you, Kevin. Thank you, Josh. Pleasure to be here. Of course, it's always a pleasure to be here. This is my house.
Yeah, that's your house.
Thank you for letting us into your beautiful home, live from Arcadia. Beautiful day here.
Yeah,
and we've been hanging out lately. I've been coming over and playing your beautiful piano and listening to you play piano. And
you've been honoring me by doing what you just said.
The honor is all mine, sir. I've been a fan of John's for many years, but just recently we kind of started to reconnect a little bit more and get to know each other a little bit better. And so we're going to talk to John about his career, listen to some of his recordings. We got a fun day planned, and thanks everyone for tuning in. Kevin?
Yeah, John, would you like to talk about yourself, like where you were originally from? How did you get into music?
Well, sure. Originally from the city of New York, Manhattan, specifically Upper Manhattan. I guess my parents liked jazz quite a lot. They had some recordings in the house. And so I grew up with wearing out the 1938 Benny Goodman Carnegie Hall concert,
Yeah.
including Sing, Sing, Sing. So I got introduced to Drummers Gone Crazy. And from there, my older brother, also liked jazz, and he brought some. Now we're going back to the era of LPs, which were not that far away. So he brought home a guy named Horace Silver. The first Blue Note 10-inch LP, which I wore out. I was fascinated by the sense of swing that Horace had and his very weird style, which I have not cracked the code yet. But I met Horace a couple of times. He's one of my heroes, one of my idols. Compositionally, certainly, he contributed so many great tunes to the literature. So, I don't know, 20 years ago or something, once I was living out here in California, I had just written this tune called Round Up the Usual Suspects, which actually was titled completely differently, and so actually Ricky Woodard, it was a Bob Mays gig at USC in an outdoor venue, and Horace came to the concert on invitation.
Oh, great.
And we played our thing, including Ricky Woodard playing Round Up the Usual Suspects. Horace came up to me and said, "Wow, I love titles. I love good titles, and I love that title. How'd you think of that?" Well, the answer to that question, although I didn't probably give it a full flavor, was when I was recording that album for the first time in a long time, I was to meet my producer at a mastering studio called Bernie Grundman.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Legendary.
And so I came into Grundman's workroom, and this guy said, "Well, what were you doing all day?" What I was doing actually was trying out pianos all over town and various studios to see because this was a huge move for me. I'd been away from playing for 15 years. I'd been away from a lot of stuff. So I was trying out piano. So he said, "Well, what were you doing all day?" I said, "I was out rounding up the usual suspects." and he said, "Gee, that's a great title for an album." I said, "You're right. I think that's what I'll go." So that's how the tune got its name.
Yeah.
The guy said, "Oh, that's a great title." And I like Horace. I do love, intriguing titles. So, it went on from there. The second Horace encounter that was very meaningful to me was at the Jazz Bakery. Long live the Jazz Bakery. I happened to be working with Benny Golson for that week, subbing for probably somebody like Billy Childs. I mean, it seemed to me to be a lot to take on. But anyway, so the last night of the week at the bakery was Sunday, which was traditional for musicians to come in and hear who the traveling band was, because most people were off on Sunday. So I caught Horace waiting in the lobby of the bakery with a lot of people for that night, for that set. And as I was working my way through the crowd, I caught Horace talking to somebody, and he said, "Who's on piano tonight?" And the person said, "Jon Mayer." "Oh, okay." And so I went and did a couple of sets, or the one set, I don't remember. And what I noticed was that Horace had seated himself behind my left shoulder, out with a view of the piano, so I couldn't see him, but he could see me. And so after it was over, everybody was working towards the dressing room to say hi to Benny Golson. Horace came across from my left shoulder area and stopped and said, "Hey, John, you played your ass off." And that was pretty meaningful. I carry that in my back pocket.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, that was a little bit of introduced to LA.
Mm-hmm.
Other little step up was I had a trio gig with Bob Mays, and who was the drummer, the classic drummer that was with the bass player with Ornette. Who was that?
Charlie Hayden.
Charlie Hayden had a band.
Lawrence Marable.
Lawrence Marable.
Mm.
Lawrence Marable was a great drummer.
Yeah, he was underrated.
Yeah. So I had a gig with Lawrence Marable and Bob Mays at this strange place in Sherman Oaks on the corner of Van Nuys and Ventura.
Oh, I remember that place.
It was called Blouses.
Blouses. I played there. I saw my teacher Cecilia Coleman play there all the time.
Yes.
Yeah, you played there.
I played there.
Yeah,
a few
Blouses.
times. So I thought it was a strange bastardization of two words. So I call it bejesus because there was a Z in there and there was a J. And
It was a weird name.
stupid name.
But Jesus.
So anyway, I was doing a Sunday jazz matinee with Lawrence and Bob.
Oh wow.
And we came to the last tune of the day, which I remember was
Solar.
Solar.
Yeah.
So in comes Ernie Watts.
Ernie.
Who I had never met. And he came up to me and says, I don't know who you are, but I'd like to get together and play some notes with you. I haven't been doing enough straight ahead lately, and maybe we can, get a thing where some straight ahead. I said, yeah, why not? And, so that's how I got with Ernie, and we began to rehearse over David Abell's, the much missed David Abell. What a guy. And then it led to some gigs with that quartet, which elevated my game somewhat.
Yeah.
And anything else you want to know?
This is great, yeah.
Lots.
I mean, tangentially, or to be continued, I would get a chance to play with Ernie Watts and his group after you.
I know that.
Right?
I heard your name mentioned. Ernie mentioned it.
Yeah.
I got this kid.
This is years ago now.
Josh
You're
Nelson.
still a kid, Josh.
Oh, thanks, Kev.
Yeah.
Well, Dave Witham did the gig for a while with. He was in Ernie's band for a bit.
Yeah, for years and
years. Yeah, and I did it with Bob Leatherbarrow on drums.
He's been there for years and years.
And I think it was Bruce Lett.
Yeah, that's
on
still
bass.
it's
still the band, right?
Yeah, still the band.
Yeah.
I did one gig with that band. I was filling in, I guess, for Dave Witham.
Mm-hmm.
I was out in Milwaukee at a festival, and I'd heard the band, and I knew that they were playing on a plane as yet unavailable to me. I mean, they were doing some out stuff, and I was not a big out fan, but I mean, there's out and there's out. There's I come from New York, where the East Village was spawning ground for most of this stuff, and I sat in or rehearsed with a bunch of guys from that school, but I was more attracted to what Bill Evans was doing, which was melody and harmonics that had a plan.
Yeah.
But anyway, I don't know where I was with this story, but that's.
Yeah.
I've lost track.
Good.
I've lost my track.
Well, Jazz Bakery was somewhere where I as a young man, I went to see so many shows there. And I think I heard you there. I heard Benny Golson there, I remember, so maybe it was a night you were there.
Well, it was the year of 1999.
That's when I was going there a lot. Yeah.
Okay.
You remember the year, 1999.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would see Cecil Taylor there, and Gonzalo Rubalcaba, and Larry Goldings would play, and so many greats, including you, John. Yeah, I missed that club, actually. That was a cool place.
Well, it was a cool place,
Yeah.
and it was a place where I could get a Monday night.
Mm-hmm.
The Mondays were kind of slow.
Yeah.
And
Right.
and not significant.
Yeah.
So local bands could get in on a Monday night, and I pestered Ruth enough so that she would give me. A matter of fact, Shari, I had just met Shari, and that week I had a particular Monday, and I just met her through. I just met her, and we had our first dinner date, and I said to her, "Now look, I'm going to be at the Jazz Bakery on Monday night. Be there." She reminds me that I used to wave my finger like that. So that was her first opportunity to hear me play, because I wanted to show off, thinking that I had something to say.
Yeah, well, we should check in. I'm seeing some stuff scrolling by. Can you read? It looks like we might have some questions for people watching.
I couldn't possibly read that.
Not you.
No.
Kevin.
I got it right here. Yeah, we have some folks here.
Folks who maybe have some questions for you.
Yeah, well, your mom is here, Josh.
Hi, Mom.
And Alan.
Hi, Mom.
You met my mom.
Yes,
Sandy.
She's killer.
She is. I'm a big fan. She loved meeting you. Yeah.
Yeah, we need to hang a little bit.
Yeah, I'd like that. That'd be nice.
And Alan Goldman is watching.
Alan's here. Hey, Alan.
He says Big Brother is watching. And,
Big G.
Yeah, the Big G, that's right. And our mutual friend Taylor Hatch.
Hey, Taylor.
He has a couple questions. And Larry Israel is watching.
Yo, Larry.
Probably
Thanks for
with
joining.
Margaret, and he also had a question.
Okay.
So, I mean, I'm happy to start with at least one question that's here.
Get into one or two, yeah.
So our friend is a great guitar player, young guitar player who studies at UNT right now. And you might have sort of answered this question already, but Taylor asks if you can name one pivotal musical moment that influenced your development as an artist, which one influenced you the most?
Oof, that's a big
That's
question.
an impossible question to answer.
Taylor has a knack for asking these kind of very good questions.
I have certain, highlighted moments that I can recall that the influence. Well, hearing Train's first quartet under his own name at the Jazz Gallery was pivotal, or was important in many ways.
Wow.
He now this tune going back to Round Up the Usual Suspects, was recently written, and after that opening night at the Jazz Gallery for Train, I decided to call him up, tell him about my, because it was mind-bending evening of music where he was exploring some of the new stuff that came out.
Yeah.
Wow.
But Not For Me version.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Maybe even Green Dolphin Street, I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway, I called him up. I said, hey John, it was mind-bending the other night. What happened that night and the next morning was I woke up infused with these colors that I heard that night before the Train was invoking. And I decided I had these two tunes percolating in my head from that night, and they were already written in my brain. And I went to the piano and played them as if they were already written. And so I told Train on the phone, John, I wrote these two tunes based on what my impression. These were impressions of what I thought I heard. He said, well, come on over and play them for me.
Wow.
I said, okay.
Yeah, sure.
Being fearless in all things.
Yeah.
So I went over to his house in Queens, and he pulled out his soprano and began to learn the tunes, just through osmosis. And I put him on his Webcore reel-to-reel tape recorder, where they stayed forever. And years later, I got to record both tunes, and one became Round Up the Usual Suspects. So anyway, that was one of my seminal moments. The other was in Madrid, Spain. Somebody had come in with Joan Gilberto's first Odeon recording.
Okay.
And they put it on the loudspeaker in this restaurant where we were working. The first wave that came in from this beautiful ocean of sound, where we first heard Desafinado, where we first heard Corcovado, and so forth and so on. That was mind-changing and mind-altering. And I got drawn into the Brazilian groove immediately, and so these are two high points.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Big, good ones.
Yeah, that's incredible. The Train just said, "Yeah, come on over and play these tunes with me."
Yeah, we had recorded together.
Oh, you recorded already before that?
Yeah, before that.
Like Sunny? Is that the
Like Sunny
record?
Yeah, I mean, I was not entitled to be recording with Train, but there I was, making the best of a strange situation. And
wow.
So we knew each other, and he was a very nice man, which is how this all worked out. He was gentle and generous and a good guy. Played pretty good too.
Yeah, say that again. Yeah, I can't even imagine to see Elvin, you know. I never got to see Elvin live, but to see Elvin in that band.
Oh, yeah.
I got to play with Elvin one set in the village somewhere. A friend of mine had a jam session, hired Elvin to do the night, and said, "Come on in, play a couple of tunes." So it was interesting playing on the same space as Elvin. Changed my playing. I just I fell into a different. I began to feel like Thelonious Monk. It was just a different sense of time, and it was delicious, actually. So I'm easily influenced.
But for the better.
Yeah. Wow. So maybe we should play a little music now?
Yeah. I think that's a good
All this talk
good
of
idea.
the Round Up the Usual Suspects
Yeah, maybe
tune.
that's...
What do you think we lead off with that? Would you be into that?
Sure, why not?
Or something else? What would you like?
What was the tune that I mentioned? The Jackie McLean tune.
Little Melanie.
Little Melanie. Yeah.
I knew Melanie, Little Melanie. That was his daughter, and
Yeah.
Anyway, let's hear that.
Okay. All right, just pulling it up here. That's on the classics, right?
Yes, it is.
With Rufus Reid and Willie Jones III, bass and drums.
Yes.
What a band! Wow.
It is what a band indeed.
Wow.
Willie
Okay,
can
share
play.
sound.
Yeah.
Share sound. Computer audio. Share. Got it. This is Josh up close and personal. Okay, here we go. Jon Mayer is our guest, and this is Little Melanie by Jackie McLean, and from a record called The Classics by Jon Mayer.
That's also good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, John.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. I didn't. We're not. So tell us about working with. I mean, you made quite a few records actually with Rufus.
Yeah, well,
What's your relationship, and how did you get to know him?
good question.
Yeah.
Good question. IAJE.
For those who don't know, International Association of Jazz Educators, now defunct. Something else now.
Something else.
They call it. I forget the name of it now.
Yeah,
The
it's
shadow of its former
The
self.
shadow of its former self. Yes.
So one of these, I said to Shari, we ought to go to one of these things, and the next one was in New York. I said, so let's go to New York, do this thing, and I was trying to get Reservoir interested in me, and everybody was going to be there. So Nick Brignola was an old friend of mine from upstate New York.
Great Barry player.
Yeah. And anyway, he recorded for Reservoir and had a lot of Reservoir stuff. I was striking out with various labels, which I thought, including, would you say, Steeplechase. I thought Steeplechase would suit my personality, such as it is. Anyway, so I arranged a meeting with Feldman. Who's the owner of
Reservoir?
I'm having some
I'm not sure.
Alzheimer's. I mean, Jazzheimer's.
Yeah.
I have not Mitch Feldman. That's the museum. Anyway, man.
Kevin will look it up.
Yep.
So we met in the course of a couple of hours, and while I was sitting in the lobby of the Hilton Hotel there on 6th Avenue, I see a large man with a large bass come rolling in, and it was very crowded around the elevators, and he worked his way into the elevator and turned around, and I said, gee, I wonder who that is. I'd never seen him and didn't know who he was. And later that night, there was a concert of the Big Band Bob over at USC.
Mincer?
Mincer.
Bob Mincer Big Band at the hotel. So we decided to go to that. And we sit down, and lo and behold, that large bass player with a large bass was on the stage with this big band. And to discover that was Rufus Reid. So Rufus opened the first tune of the set with some walking, just old school walking. And I turned to Shari. I said, "Now that's a bass player I could get with." And so then I had the late meeting with. He's a dear friend of mine who just passed away, Feldman, over at Reservoir. I said, gee, I think I found a bass player that, after we sort of agreed that we would do something, he said, who would you want on bass? I said, well, I heard this bass player last night named Rufus Reid, and he sounds like just right kind of thing for me. And he said, oh, well, Rufus records for me all the time. He was like a house bass player. And
Is it Mark Feldman?
Mark, thank you.
You were
You're
close. You said Feldman.
Yeah.
No,
M.
I knew Feldman.
Yeah, Mark. Okay.
Yeah, he just passed.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
6 months ago.
Okay. That's a great label. I've always enjoyed their releases.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's how I met Rufus.
That's great.
And we became, studio partners. And each time I went and did another one, it was with Rufus. The drummers changed. but the bass player didn't change.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
so one of those days, Roy McCurdy who I was working with out here for years, he got to see each CD that I did drop over at Charlie O's. We would sell them off the shelf.
Mm.
And he would see the latest one. He said, "Why aren't I on that?" And why don't you, use me? And I said, no, I just escaped my attention, I guess. So the next one, I said, I want to bring Roy to New York, and because he would fly me to New York to do the recording at purportedly the best studio in town, which was Avatar.
Avatar, famous, yeah.
And I had a couple of different pianos to choose from.
Nice.
So that's how we cemented our relationship. Then I got a chance to do a concert at Memphis State University. That's a complicated story. How did I do that? How did I do any of this stuff? Really? I mean, it's just a lot of stick-to-itiveness.
Yeah.
And bothering people. Because you got to bother people if you want to get to the next, chess square.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Anyway, so Roy came in and did the next three, and it was terrific.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah, there's some great recordings that you documented with Roy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe we can hear one of those.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, well...
you have something you want?
Let's see. I didn't... It's in my CD closet. Do you happen to have Live at the Athenaeum trio?
I saw he's on that one, but I don't see it on Apple.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's odd.
I have Nightscape.
Yeah.
I have So Many Stars.
Yeah, So Many Stars.
You want to do something from that record? Yeah. We got Holy Land.
Do that one.
Holy Land?
Yeah.
Cedar Walton tune?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Great.
That's a crowd favorite.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Hi. Okay, so now we're gonna go to 2007 with this record. Is this Reservoir? Yeah. Okay, on Reservoir Records, our special man of the hour is Jon Mayer is our guest from his beautiful home here, and we're gonna hear Rufus Street on bass and the great Roy McCurdy on drums with Cedar Walton's Holy Land. Sounds good. Wow, if you're just joining us, we're here with the great pianist Jon Mayer and my friend Kevin Van den Elzen. And this is the West Coast Jazz Hour, and we're spending a little time with our friend John here. He's regaling us with stories of hearing John Coltrane live in New York at the Jazz Gallery, and Horace Silver listening to him play, and offering some well-deserved praise. And we're listening to some of his records. That was Holy Land by the other great pianist Cedar Walton. It featured Rufus Reid on bass and the wonderful Roy McCurdy on drums. Anything you want to say about the track or the trio or anything? Yeah.
Cedar Walton. It's funny. I ran into Cedar Walton at the bar at Birdland one Monday night.
Oh, really?
And he sort of saw me around the scene and knew that I was a piano player, and he said, somehow the conversation revolved around, so do you know what style you're going to express, or
Yeah.
and I didn't even know what he was talking about. And I said, "Oh yeah, I got it, whatever it was." And so we knew each other, slightly through the years. We'd say hello to each other. I heard him play a lot in Birdland with John Coltrane, with Art Blakey. Actually, Art Blakey was my favorite drummer for a groove. He just had this thing that, and again, I had a chance to sit in with him at the Cafe Bohemia.
Wow.
When he had the Messengers in there, with Jackie Mack and different trumpet player, Bill Hartman.
Oh, Bill Hartman, yeah.
So Ray Draper, who I was very close friends with as teenagers, he knew everybody on the scene. He was hooked and connected. So in fact, Blakey lived a couple of blocks from his house. And there was one or two drugs being experimented with, which, so everybody had sort of a commonality. Anyway, so Blakey's band was down at the Bohemia, and we go in, and he said, "You want to sit in at the Bohemia?" Which was sort of the center of the scene at that time. I said, "Of course." So the payoff of the story is that it was Night in Tunisia, which I knew well enough, and so the playing through Night in Tunisia, which I knew the subtleties of rhythmic subtleties, but with Blakey playing drums underneath or behind me was a different feeling from other drummers. It was just, I felt lifted up, and yeah. So I remember the feeling of playing with the greatest drummers who ever played, and Blakey was one of them. Elvin was one, and there were other meetings with great men too.
Yes.
Wow.
Where are we, Kevin?
We have another question of somebody who's always watching our show. It's actually a very nice question from Larry Israel, and he asks, John, could you speak about the band with you, Barry Zweig, Andy Simpkins, and Frank Capp? And did that group ever record an album?
Wow, it's wild. He was the only person in LA that ever heard of the band.
Yeah. I haven't either.
I haven't either. But
I have a photograph of us.
The great Andy Simpkins. Wow.
I have to spend a moment with Frank.
Yeah, I never got to play or meet with him, but I've
He
only
was
heard
my
incredible
dream bass
things.
player
Right.
And I said, but anyway, Frankie and I sort of put the band together. We'd done a couple of gigs. I was in Japan with Anita O'Day, and Frank was on the band, Bob Mays. So
It's a good band.
yeah, and Frank was known as the big band man, and I said, hey Frank, you play great. Let's get a small group, a quartet or something. So we went about finding. No, it wasn't a quartet at all. It was a trio, wasn't it? Oh no, it was with
Barry.
Barry.
Yeah,
Barry.
It was a quartet with Barry,
Yeah.
which I loved. I love that side of the street of rhythm guitar, and you get to swing out of your mind with that, and you begin to take on, like we said, Oscar Peterson, Gene Harris, etc.
Yeah.
It was a throwback to Freddie Green. Anyway,
Wow.
so what was the question?
Did you ever record? With
No,
that
we
band?
never recorded.
Oh.
We did one gig.
You did one gig.
Yeah,
Oh.
at Steamers.
Oh.
That's why Larry knows this. Because he was hanging around at Steamers all the time.
Steamers in Fullerton.
Yeah.
That was a great club. I played a
Yeah.
lot there too.
Yeah, it was a great club.
Yeah.
Uh,
One gig. Wow.
our friend
The owner?
the owner,
Terrence.
Terry
Love.
Love,
Terry Love.
or as Ernie Watts likes to say, for your love. Terrence, for your love. Anyway, so Terrence is promoting these Thursday nights down in Newport.
That's right.
And if I start feeling better, I may want to go
Yeah.
down there. It's a great place. Really,
Yeah.
It's unusual because they have a real piano. Well, they have almost real piano, but it's very good.
It's a Roland, the nice one. With the,
Yeah.
it's good action.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it'd be great to have you down there. I played there a few times and I reconnected with Terrence. Yeah. Yeah. For those who don't know, Fullerton in Orange County, Southern California, had a great club for a long time, Steamers Jazz Cafe. Oh, I played there. John played there. And did you ever get to play? Did you miss Steamers?
No. Yeah, missed it.
He's the young one in the room.
Yeah.
He missed that time. And these other clubs that we're mentioning, I mean, a place like Charlie O's, I actually really miss that club because it was every night, killer bands. I mean, it didn't matter what night you went, you'd hear someone great. I mean, I heard John Hurd's trio there many times with Roy McCurdy and Carl Saunders, and everyone played there.
Yeah, it was the hang.
It was the hang.
And
Yeah.
we're not happy that it's gone.
No. Yeah.
Or Dante's for that
That's
matter.
before my time.
Yeah. I didn't get to see Dante's either. Yeah. What year did you move to LA, John?
91.
91. Okay.
Was there a specific reason why you moved to LA?
I was invited to move to LA by a record producer, a pop record producer.
Huh.
And I got involved with I mean, I was a songwriter. I began. Okay, so listening in New York before I moved out here, I discovered Barry White, and I was drawn in by his groove. He had a groove, and his voice was, shall we say, unique. And so I I heard his first hit album, and I again decided to write my impression of. So I wrote what I called my Barry White song, based on some of the stuff that he was doing. So I put it in my back. I hated to write anything down. I was very undisciplined, and so I would have tunes in my head, and if I didn't play them for a while, I might forget them. But so I had this tune, and I moved to LA, and a friend of my wife to be at that time was friends with a guy who was in big record company productions, and he said one night at dinner, I work at this he worked for publishers, and Barry White's publisher. And I said, oh, so yeah, he comes into the office every once in a while. And I said, I have this tune I call my Barry White tune. Why don't you play it for him? And so it was the era of cassettes. So I pulled out my cassette player recorder and put a piano version of the tune on a cassette. He took it into the office. And about a week or two later, he said, hey, Barry heard, loves the tune, wants to record it.
Wow.
And I said, oh, that's great. Anyway, I had more. It took about 3 years for it to actually work its way in the rotation. And I got very discouraged and disheartened by the way the business seemed to work. People not exactly telling the truth all the time. Mm-hmm. And I said, I'm getting out of this thing. But anyway, he finally did record it. It was an instrumental, Love Unlimited Orchestra, which is around and out there.
Yeah.
And getting back to titles, I came up with a title for this tune called White on White. And
nice.
I told Barry, I said, I call it White on White. He said, no, you can't do that. I have a project waiting to be called White on White.
Oh.
And I said, okay, I'll come up with another title. So I just scratched my head for about 10 seconds. and I said, so I wanted to have the flavor of this sort of amorphous making love tunes. And I said, it's called Don't You Know How Much I Love You? What does that mean? He said, oh, great. So anyway, it's under that title, Don't You Know How Much I Love You?
Okay.
Anyway, that was, I did a lot of other pop singer recordings. And
so that's what brought you out west.
more or less.
Yeah.
Got any other questions?
Yeah. Pretty much studio work kind of brought you out here.
Well, a promise of studio work.
Yeah.
But my sight reading is less than auspicious. And so I found out that you got to be a kick-ass sight reader.
Yeah.
And I never went through the training. Mm-hmm. And I was just pick it up as I went.
Right.
But I did a little bit. I had a dear friend who was actually Johnny Mandel's cousin,
mm-hmm.
and he was a great composer, and he used to ghost for Johnny Mandel. And so I lost my train of thought again.
It's okay.
So.
All good. Just All good stuff.
But I can't get over this guy asking about the band. He must have been there the only night we ever worked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's him and his wife. His wife used to work the door at Steamers, so that's probably why he was there. Yeah. She worked together with Terrence, so
Yeah.
Yeah, Andy Simpkins.
right.
Andy.
He had the feel that I could identify with him.
Yes.
When I played with him, I said, Jesus, this is... I used to call him the steamroller. Either you get on board or get out of the way because he'll run over you. And that's a school of bass playing that a couple of people, work towards, and some musicians really don't like that. Don't like that kind of push feel. I have him on a DVD one day that we did. You remember the music store out here in Alhambra? It's closed now. It's before your time.
Yeah.
Vicky
Pedrini. Oh yeah,
I've heard that
you
name.
know, you probably met Vicky.
Yes, yeah.
Pedrini Music. Yeah, that's her.
I've met her.
Her
yes.
family's store. Yeah.
So they had a couple of branches, but anyway, she would pretty much every Saturday have a band come in and play this little space that they had. A nice piano. There should be, because they sold pianos. They sold Yamaha. So I got a couple 3 dates out there, and I brought Andy out, and they had, remember a low ceiling that they had? It was low ceiling, and Andy came in holding space, trying to work his way through the crowd, and clipped off the scroll of his bass. It was a horrible sight. And he said, "Oh, don't worry about it," and played the gig, with the bass without the scroll thing. But you'll hear it one day on this DVD.
Yeah.
It plays so good. And Bob Mays is not on that gig. Andy's on that gig. Paul Krybick is on that gig.
Oh, Paul. Love Paul.
Anyway, that's my story. And,
yeah, the band.
Yeah.
Good band. Wow.
Yeah.
We have any more questions? And by the way, thanks for watching, everybody. I see Karen Hammock is
Yeah.
here. Yo, Karen.
Hammock.
Yeah. She says, what's she say?
Love John's Trio.
Trio with Chris Connor and Roy.
Oh yes, I know. She would always come out.
Yeah.
And Karen, keep coming back.
I love Karen. Karen's a wonderful pianist and writer and just awesome person.
She's pretty gifted
Right.
in so many areas.
Kate Prather Reed is watching too.
Kate Reed?
Mm-hmm.
Kate Prather Reed, yeah.
Oh, hey Kate. Thanks for watching.
Yeah, there was another question from our friend Taylor.
Okay.
Actually.
Yeah.
What advice would you give to those in the younger generation that are working towards finding their artistic voice?
Okay, so you need to go out and hear and see. You need to go to where, if you want to play good, as I say, if you want to learn to play good, not well, but good, then you need to get out of the house. You will never be discovered in your own house.
That is true.
Wise words.
So you got to get out into the world, find some band or person who's really playing good, and go and see what they do as well as hear what they do, because it's all kinetic and it's physical, and you don't get that over a recording necessarily, but if you get to see Andy Simpkins play, you'll be transported by just looking at him. He gets involved. I get involved too, but he really dives into the bass and dives into the music. He's quite remarkable.
Yeah.
Was, And I actually have never forgiven him for passing away.
Oh.
I thought I found the right bass player.
Yeah.
Speaking of the right bass player, I got a young man coming out here to play a couple of gigs with me. One at LACMA on the 20th of this month.
A week from tomorrow.
Yep.
Oh, the heat is on.
The heat is on. Yeah, LA County Museum has a great series, and John is playing it next Friday with his trio.
Plus Doug Webb.
Oh, plus Doug on
Yeah,
tenor. Who's the bass player you were talking about?
Oh, the kid from New York, Will Lyle.
Will Lyle, yes.
Yeah.
We've played with him.
Yep.
He's wonderful.
Yeah, he's dramatically wonderful. So,
And you have, is it Roy McCurdy on drums? Well, great.
we will take no prisoners.
I'll be there. I'll be in the audience listening.
Hopefully,
6 p.m., I think.
be there or be square.
Be there, be square. It's a free series, outdoors. It's a really great jazz series.
And back to Karen Hammock. Yes, you're right about Chris and the trio. Chris was a perfect third of the band. And Karen would come out when she could. There was a strange place in Beverly Hills where it was a big restaurant.
Oh, yeah.
Home.
That's right. I played there once. That was an odd place.
Odd place.
Yeah.
And the piano was dependably out of tune.
Yes, out when I played it. Yeah.
And my job was to make it presentable. But Karen was there that night.
Okay. Yeah, short-lived jazz room in Beverly Hills. Yeah. Now, speaking of rooms that are no longer clubs, that we don't have anymore, the one you played at with Stephanie, where we have this recording we might show. Was it the Jazz Spot?
The Jazz Spot was interesting.
Yeah. That was cool. Los Feliz neighborhood.
Yeah, it was on Hillhurst.
Right.
Just down from Los Feliz Boulevard.
Yeah.
And that guy did not spare the horses. He, matter of fact, I went with him to pick out the piano.
Did you?
At, the place in the valley that now owns all of the piano stores.
Keyboard Concepts.
Keyboard Concepts. What's the owner's name?
Oh yeah, Dennis.
Dennis.
Yeah.
The piano inside is from Dennis's
Is it?
shop. Yeah.
Dennis Adair, I want to say. Anyway, Dennis. Yeah. His place. Yeah.
Yeah, so the owner of the Jazz Spot asked me to go with him to the place on Van Nuys.
Mm-hmm.
And we found, great Yamahas, but there was this one that
Mm-hmm.
It was not a straight. It was not a straight. It was a 9-foot.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty interesting.
Yeah.
So I forget what the owner's name was.
I forget. I don't know if I ever met him. But the Jazz Spot, yeah.
Starting to forget a lot of names right now.
Well, we're here to help.
Yeah.
Well,
Jim Britt.
Oh, you got it.
Yeah.
Jim Britt.
Jim Britt ran the Jazz Spot. He was the sort of the head guy there.
Yeah.
And did most of the booking.
Mm.
And Jim Britt was owned the original Jazz Bakery.
Oh, is that right?
Before Ruth had it.
Oh.
It was a photo studio.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. And
Huh.
that's where the Stephanie thing was recorded, in the old Jazz Bakery and in the Jazz Spot. There's 2 volumes.
2 volumes, right.
And I believe, and I can't tell you now which one is which.
Oh, okay.
But are we going to get to Stephanie?
Yeah.
I was thinking that.
Yeah.
This is Stephanie time.
Right?
Yeah.
She was a wonderful, wonderful, what can I say, wonderful vocalist, great sensibilities, and the greatest taste in songs that I ever ran into. she introduced me to some of the songs that I do now.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
she was a pure jazz singer, pure jazz,
Yes.
you know, unadulterated. So let's listen to some
Okay,
Stephanie.
I'll hold it up. Stephanie Haynes.
Yeah.
The great Stephanie Haynes. I can still hear Chuck Niles' voice. Stephanie Haynes.
You do that very well. Very well.
With Dave Mackay.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Oh, we're getting some good feedback. Kate Reed says, so great to hear your stories. My friend Michelle. Hey, Michelle. She says, so much wisdom. She loves your playing.
God bless her.
Yeah. Hey, Thelma. How are you? Karen Cruz. Thanks for watching, everybody. Well, we got some lovely people watching here. Okay. Do we know where we're going on the track,
Yeah.
Kevin?
Yeah, if you want to play So Many Stars,
Yeah.
then you have to scroll to
What time?
30 minutes and 16 seconds.
Okay. 30 minutes.
Yes.
And
I
thank you
know
for
that cymbal sound. That's Johnny
And 16
Kirk.
seconds?
Yeah.
Okay, getting specific here. So in the band is yourself,
Johnny
of
Kirkwood,
course.
I think.
Johnny Kirkwood on drums, who you said was Billy Higgins' teacher.
Yeah.
Wow.
And
Bob Mays?
Bob Mays on bass. Okay, here we go. I think we're sharing sound. Are we still sharing sound? Yes.
Yeah.
Bossa Nova song from Brazil written by Sergio Mendes.
So Many Stars.
The lyrics by Alan and Marilyn Berkman. It's called So Many Stars. The dawn is filled with dreams, so many dreams. Which one is mine? One must be right for me. Which dream of all the dreams? When there's a dream for every star, and there are so many stars, so many stars. The night is filled with songs, so many songs. Which one is mine? One must be right for me. Which song of all the songs, when there's a song for every star, and there are so many stars, so many stars. Along the endless nights, the countless days that I have searched, so many hearts, so many eyes, so many smiles. Which one to choose, which way to go? How can I tell, how will I know? Out of so many stars, so many stars. that I have searched. So many hearts, so many eyes, so many smiles. Which one to choose? Which way to go? How can I tell? How will I know? Out of so many stars, so many stars, out of so many
I love it.
Caught me by surprise.
Wow. Stephanie Haynes, and that's an unreleased
It's just
bootleg. I mean,
It's a bootleg.
It's a bootleg.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing that with everybody.
Yeah.
And Jim Britt made that recording.
Okay.
Because he was of both places, both locations.
Yeah.
And and so he's been living up in Idaho for years now. And one day, about a year and a half ago or thereabouts, he sent me these discs. He said, I was going through this stuff and I found you and Stephanie, and I thought you should have it. So there you go.
Wow. I'm so glad he recorded it.
Yeah.
I only got to play one show with Stephanie. Kathy Siegel Garcia, our lovely fearless leader, vocalist in LA. Love Kathy. She's a dear friend. Yeah. She put together a show at Catalina Bar and Grill, and it was Jackie Ryan, who I know you play with.
Oh yeah, I've just played with
Jackie.
Ryan.
Yeah, you just. Oh, really?
Yeah,
wonderful
that's the best
vocalist from the Bay Area.
Yep.
And Kathy and Stephanie, and it was Stephanie's last gig because the cancer came back and got her. She came over to my house for 3 hours, and we just played duo, and I was in sheer heaven listening to her interpretations, and she'd hit me like she did to you to songs I didn't know or I had heard once, and she sang the crap out of, I mean, she was special, very special woman. I'm glad I got one chance to accompany her. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. You guys sound really great together. I love your accompanying her behind her.
I worry about that.
Do you?
I worry about my accompaniment. I
Do you?
think it gets that maybe I get too too big. A couple of tunes on there where I said, "Gee, I gotta take that track down a little bit." Yeah, I get very worked up. But that one.
That's
one
a nice
works.
one. Yeah, that's really nice. Yeah, I love your sense of orchestration and your lines, and when you solo, you're always taking me somewhere else, and I always appreciate that. When I think I've heard something, I know what's going to happen next, you take this cool turn, and it's always a surprise, and I love that about your playing.
Yeah, I try to stay out of the pit of I've already done. Now you're going to do stuff again, but try a different path. That's
right. Yeah.
Show some courage. You need courage. When they say every time you do a tune should be the first time that you do it.
Yeah.
And I try to make it the first time. Kind of.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Wise words.
Yeah, definitely. But you're saying that you're trying not to become too big, but it didn't really sound that you were becoming big with Stephanie.
Not on this tune.
Right, but is that because most of the singers that I've listened to, and you've mentioned Anita O'Day, most listeners actually like it when you play with like a fairly good amount of
assertive.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I'm definitely assertive. And sometimes I feel like nobody's telling me the truth.
Oh, really?
Like well, sometimes I can swallow a singer, with the strength of
Yeah.
too much strength.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And they're a great. I love great accompanists, and you're a great accompanist.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, John.
Most assuredly. But I've heard Hank Jones be the accompanist. I've heard
Wow.
the Jazz at the Phil people. Who were they?
Yeah.
Back in my day, I can't remember names. But anyway, but these are genius orchestrators, accompanists, whatever you want to call them.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Now, one time when I was playing with, working with Dionne Warwick,
Mhm.
we were to do the Ed Sullivan show, and we get to the pit of that theater, the Ed Sullivan Theater, and the pit pianist is Hank Jones.
Oh.
He was on staff at CBS.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently he could read.
Yeah, I guess so.
So anyway, I guess Dionne was going to do one tune because they don't stretch it out. They do
Right.
One tune, and put the part up on the desk. And Hank wisely said, "Oh, I don't want to play. Why don't you play it?" Because I knew that he didn't want to work particularly, so he said, "No, I'd like to have you play this."
Ah.
So I played the Ed Sullivan show, that one tune.
That's great. Very cool.
Yeah.
Then I asked him one day down at Bradley's. He was working down there with a duo. I said, "I'd like to talk to you about lessons, about studying with you." He said, "I'm not interested in." At that moment, he wasn't interested in anything particularly lesson-wise.
Yeah.
But man, what a great piano player!
Oh, one of my favorites. I used to go see him play at the old Catalina's up on Cahuenga, up the street from the old Shelley's Manhole. And Hank would always be in his tuxedo. And it was George Mraz on bass and Dennis McCrell on drums.
Trio.
That trio worked for many, many years.
Yeah.
And I had transcribed a Hank Jones solo, and I wrote it out, and I had Hank sign it. Yeah, I said, "Would you do me the honor?" And he said,
Wow.
"How did you do that?" And I said, "Well, I learned your solo and I wrote it down." And he said, "I've never done that." I said, "Well, you invented all this stuff, so you probably didn't need to transcribe anything."
Yeah.
He was a very sweet man.
Yeah.
Yeah. What a player. What a touch. Yeah.
Gigantic hands.
Wow.
Which I always resented.
Yeah.
I have miniature hands, but I figured a way.
Get around.
Figured a way to adapt to that.
You get a big sound out of the piano, John. How are we doing on time, Kevin?
We're.
You have a gig soon, I think, don't
yeah.
you?
I mean, we could go. We could do for like another 5 minutes because we've been on the air already for an hour and a half.
Yeah, this is flying by. Yeah, I'm almost thinking volume 2 at some point.
Yeah.
Because we have more music to get to, and maybe we just kind of call it here. Yeah.
Not a bad idea.
And then we'll come back maybe at some point and get to some more recordings. We want to play your solo record.
Yeah.
You know.
Oh yeah, that's fun.
Art of the Ballad. It's a great album. Yeah. And people can check out, a lot of John's music is on Apple and Spotify, so you don't have to wait for the next time. Just go and search Jon Mayer, JonMayer, and you can find many of his recordings there. Not all of them, but a good number.
Most.
Yeah. Okay. Well, this has been absolutely fun.
It's been really a trip for me. I have to thank you guys for hauling all this equipment and coming to my humble abode.
Oh,
and
our pleasure.
discussing the old days and the new days.
Yeah.
Yes.
Absolutely.
And one more plug for John's gig next week. He's at the LA County Museum of Art Jazz Series, LACMA Jazz Series. It's Friday, October 20th, 6 p.m. It's free. It's outdoors near the beautiful light sculpture with all the old street lamps from LA. It's quite a cool location. And he's joined by Doug Webb on sax, Will Lyle on bass, and Roy McCurdy on the drums.
Yeah, not a bad band.
It's a great band. I'll be there. I hope to see you guys there. And anything else you want to add, John?
No, I'm just really happy that you guys came over, and I'm glad to be able to scrape some barnacles off my memory.
Not at all. I mean, you're going back some years, and you remember quite a bit.
Yeah.
So
I have very good long-term memory.
yeah.
Don't ask me what happened 5 minutes ago. No. It's a strange world, the memory function.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Apparently, it's an age thing. But anyway, it was great to hang out with you guys.
Yeah.
Hopefully, we'll do it again.
Yeah, absolutely.
I hope so. Thank you, John.
Yeah.
You want to say anything?
Yeah, we're planning to do something in the last 2 months of the year to have one more interview in, so we'll keep you guys up to date. But
if you're in San Diego,
you
want to
mention that? October 29th. Yeah, we're gonna play at with the West Coast Jazz Hour Trio. That's Josh and bass player Eric Sittner and yours truly, and we're gonna play some West Coast repertoire plus a couple of originals by Josh, and we're gonna play at Tio Leo's, which is Holly Hoffman's great jazz series down in San Diego.
Yeah.
So that should be a lot of fun. And that's pretty much the last performance of the West Coast Jazz Hour Trio that we have for this year. But then for next year in January, that's kind of fun that we're able to announce, is that in January we'll have 2 performances that are pretty much back to one another. January 10th we'll play at Vibrato with our big band featuring the great Danish singer Sinne Eeg. That's going to be really, really cool. Yeah. She's bringing a bunch of arrangements also by the late, great Roger Newman with her.
That's right.
So that's going to be really fun. And then on January 12th, we're going to celebrate the repertoire of the legendary Terry Gibbs, who's turning 99 tomorrow. And I know, it's incredible.
Young man.
Yes, and we'll have Nick Mancini as our special guest on vibraphone, and Tawanda will sing a few tunes with us, and that's going to happen at the Irvine Barclay Theater on January 12th. So we're really, really looking forward to West Coast Jazz Hour Trio and those 2 big band performances in January, and we'll keep you up to date about the interview that we'll do in the next last couple of months of this year. So thank you guys for joining us today. Thank you to
John.
the legendary Jon Mayer for having us.
Semi.
And we'll see you very soon. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks everybody.
Bye.
Bye.